Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Another monthly wrap up, another monthly TBR. How did the year go by so fast? How are we already doing a July TBR? I read 5.5 books in the month of June. I'll explain later where the half comes from. But it was an okay reading month. Like, I didn't read anything crazy that I was like, oh my god, life-changing. First book that I started in May but I finished in June was Say You Swear by Megan Brandy. Where do I even begin with this book? I've been terrified to read it because it's a little bit too long and people cry when they read this. In my eyes, there is nothing wrong with Noah Riley in this book. Follow Ariana, our main character. She goes off to university with her 4 friends, which one of them is her brother, one of them is her actual like girl best friend, another guy best friend, and then Chase, her best friend slash she's been in love with him for years. She gets her heart broken. They all go to uni together and she meets Noah. The only thing I can say about this book is drama, just drama. I loved it so much. There is a thing that happened in the end that made me like rethink my rating. It was gonna definitely be a 5-star, but this thing that happened in the end was a little bit too dragged out, so I ended up giving it a 4.5. But it's been almost a month since I read this and I'm still thinking about it, so maybe, I don't know, I still think it's a 4.5. It was a solid, it was a good book if you want university vibes in America, rugby boyfriends and a beach house, essentially, like all those like American school vibes. This is the one. I just loved it so much. It was like a reading and fanfic, but in the best way possible. It was so easy to follow. You were just getting sucked into the story and you just didn't want it to end. It was that good. And it's on Kindle Unlimited as well. The next book that I read in the month of June is Not in Love by Ellie Hazelwood. This is her newest release. I was a little bit disappointed, to say the least, about this book. I gave it 3 stars. I went on it with such high expectations, probably that's why I got a little bit disappointed. I love Ellie Hazelwood. I love her stories, her characters, everything about it. I love it. But this book was definitely not the one for me. I didn't feel the chemistry between these 2 characters. It was a lot spicier than her other books, which we knew that was coming, but I didn't feel the spice because I didn't feel the chemistry between them. I don't know, it was just, I wasn't feeling connected to the characters at all. I skimmed 40% of this book and I don't feel like I've missed anything. There was parts that it was kind of hard to understand. I was like, am I missing something from the plot? Basically, you follow Rue and Ellis. Rue works for a company that Ellis's company is gonna buy the loan off, so essentially they're gonna own it. Rue's best friend owns the original company, so she feels like Ellis's company is doing them dirty because they want to buy the company and like kick that person out of being a CEO or whatever. I don't even know if that even makes sense. So she considers him the enemy. I just didn't care for it. I didn't care for the subplot of like the company being bought out. I didn't care for them too. I felt like there was no chemistry. I felt like the spicy scenes were so cringe that I really literally had to skip. I gave it 3 stars. I still love Ellie Hazelwood, but in my opinion I don't think this was her best work. After all that romance kick that I got in the beginning of the month, I decided to pick up A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I saw Madison Kate's recent wrap-up video, I think it was, and I will trust this woman with my life. We read the exact same books, we have the exact same taste, so anything she reads, I just trust her and she's never wrong. She loved this one, and I've never read anything crime thrillery type of book before in my life, so I thought I'd pick this one up because I see so many people love it, so there must be a reason why they love it. You follow Pip, a high school student in the UK, and a murder that happened 5 years ago. Murder of a girl that allegedly her boyfriend at that time unalived her and then he killed himself. That never really sat right with Pip, so she's wanting to dig up everything from the past and just prove that that guy was not in fact that person's killer. So she goes up to that guy's brother Robbie and she's like, I don't think your brother killed Andy. Do you want to help me just get to the bottom of this? And you just follow their journey along. I think it's so fast-paced, so fun. Every time they give you a clue, you're like, oh my god, I know who the killer is, but then it just does something else happens, and you're like, oh my god, I don't know who that killer is. But then there is this whole list of suspects that every single one of them could be the killer because everybody has a reason to do that. It's just so interesting. Like, it just had my brain just like working and doing the math, and I was like, oh my god, like, I'm gonna solve this, you know, I know who the killer is. Like, it was so fun. It's written in third person, which if you've been here before, you know I'm not like the biggest fan of, but every end of a chapter had a little production log entry and little templates here. She was basically writing her thoughts. It was like a little journal, and it was in first person, and I thought it was so fun. I binged this book. Like, I needed to know who that killer is. I gave it 4 stars, and I'm excited to go into the rest of the series. Clearly I got the second one here, so I really like this. The next book I read, which I read it second, I think it was, this month, was The Risk by S.D. Abbey. This is part of the Mindfuck series. It is 5 books included into one if you've seen like the original cover. But if you do want to read it on Kindle, where I read it is 5 different separate books. The first book was only like 130 pages, which I think I read in like 2 days. It was a very fast read, but I feel like I don't know what I'm getting myself into with the series. I feel like it's a lot darker than I thought it was gonna be. Full of Lana Myers, and she is a serial killer. She's basically hunting down everybody that abused her in the past and basically ruined her life. So she's hunting every single one of those people down, and she's killing them, which, you know what, good for her. And then she ends up dating the FBI agent that happens to be on her case, and it just gets interesting from there. That book has me stressing. She's obviously undercover. She's trying not to get discovered by that guy, but she's spending so much time with him in her own house where all like her little murder rooms are, and it's just stressful to say the least. But from like a justice point of view, I think it's so interesting to see, because she's basically trying to unalive everyone that's wronged her, but like in a very serious way. Wronged her. Does it even make sense? I'm trying not to like say all these little words here because, you know, I gave myself a little bit of break after the first book just because I think it was a little, I know it's gonna get dark. I know it's gonna get really dark, and they do talk about abuse and everything, and those people in the book are still out there roaming the streets free, so it caused me a little bit of anxiety, to say the least. So I gave a little bit of a break. I did rate it 3.5, I think, because I liked the whole plot, but I did feel like they went straight onto it with the FBI agent. Like, no slow burn, nothing really. It's just causing me a lot of stress. So I did give it 3.5, but I am gonna read the rest. The 5th book I read this month was Girl Brought by Elle Kennedy. This took me like a week to finish, and it's like a silly little romance. I don't know how I feel about this. I ended up rating it 3 stars. This was my first Elle Kennedy book. I saw it in Waterstones, and I thought, oh my god, let me just get onto this book, because it's based in London, and that's all it took for me to read it. I live in the UK, so reading a book about the UK, I thought it was so fun. So you follow Abby. She's a rock star's daughter. They live in Nashville, and then she decides she's gonna go over to London for a year abroad in university to kind of like find out who she is, you know, find herself. She goes and rents this flat in Notting Hill, and she lives with what she thought it was gonna be 3 girls, but it's not. It's 3 guys. It all just goes downhill from there. She ends up having a little something with one of her flatmates and a bad boy from a rock band that happens to have a girlfriend. I don't know. I felt like this book had so much potential. The whole premise, like the London uni, Notting Hill, guys, flatmates, including a bad boy from a rock band that doesn't live with them, but he's in a rock band and he has a girlfriend. I thought it had so much potential, but I don't feel like it was done right, in my opinion. I thought all 3 of them, Abby and the 2 love interests, were really annoying, at least in the beginning. I especially found her a little bit annoying as well. I don't know why. one of the characters, one of the flatmates is gay, but some of the things that Abby was saying to him, I'm like, maybe I'm just reading too much into it. And then there's this whole subplot that happens during the entire book that she wants to find a woman from a painting from an old English family. She wants to discover that mystery, who that woman was. What does that even have to do with the whole premise of the book? Like, if you took that little subplot with a painting and her sleeping with two different people at the same time, it would be just two different stories. I don't feel like these two stories had anything to do with each other. I feel like it was a nice touch. She tried to add something a little bit more fun, like a little uni work there, but it took up so much of the story that it didn't connect to the base of the story. This didn't even make sense. I just don't, I feel like this, I was reading for two different books, and I just felt like a little bit disconnected. Plus the ending was so rushed. It didn't even give us time to root for any of them, you know? Who was she gonna pick? I couldn't care less who she was gonna pick, because it didn't give us anything to like either of them, you know? I felt like it was really rushed, and I feel like all this time that this painting took out of this book, it could have been to build up both of these guys and just make us feel, oh my god, who is she gonna pick? Just, you know what I mean? I thought it could have been a lot better, but I did enjoy like the whole London vibe, so yeah. And then the other book that I started reading yesterday, and I can't stop reading it, like I can't put my Kindle down, is The Crimson Moth by Kristen Ciccarelli, I think it is. I can't put this book down. I started it last night and I'm already 54% into the book. I know I'm gonna finish it today. It's the last day of June and I know I'm gonna finish it today. So yeah. I thought I was gonna pick something really fast-paced on my Kindle because Reckless by Lauren Roberts comes out on Tuesday, and I need to finish whatever I'm reading this weekend because I really want to pick Reckless on Tuesday. And I've seen so many good things about this specific book. It is a fantasy book, and I've not read a fantasy in what it feels like forever. I don't even remember the last fantasy book that I've read, which is insane because I'm a fantasy girl through and through, and I've been in the fantasy slump. Okay, maybe it's the summer weather, I don't know, but I picked this one up and it just reminded me how much I loved fantasy, and it just, it's everything. So easy to follow. It is written in third person, but it's the easiest third person fantasy you'll ever read in your life. It's so easy to follow. The world building is so simple and easy that it will just have you hooked from page one. Like, I was on page one and I was like, oh my god, I know I'm gonna love this. You follow Rune and Gideon. Rune is a witch, Gideon is a witch hunter. Pull those two together, like you get what I'm saying. You have the witches, you have the medieval vibes, you have the witch and the witch hunter, the little enemies, but then they just kind of like playing each other to get what they want, but they're both doing it at the same time, so you just don't know where this is gonna go. It's messy and it's so fun. So far I'm really enjoying it. So now let's move to the books that I want to read in the month of July. My TBR keeps changing every single day basically. I am a mood reader, so my TBR is going to be changing every single day because I'm Italy influenced and I see all these videos of people reading all these books and I want to read those books. Some books that I have in mind that I've had in my mind for a while that I want to get into. First and foremost, of course, I want to read Reckless by Lauren Roberts. This is the second one. The Powerless, is it going to be a trilogy? I don't even know, but I read Powerless back in February and that book left me on a cliffhanger. I just can't stop thinking about it since February, and I've been waiting for this day to come, for Reckless to come out for months, and it comes out in 2 days. I'm screaming, kicking my feet and throwing up and crying. I can't. Now that I'm reading a fantasy book, I am back into mood for fantasy, which I'm so happy to be back in that mood. And that really made me want to read Legendary by Stephanie Garber. This is the second one in the Caraval trilogy. I read Caraval a few months ago and I loved it. It was so fun, so easy to read. I gave it 5 stars because it was just fun. But I did go ahead and get the American cover, the floppy American cover, which we love. And I know that they introduced Jax, which if you don't know is the main character of Once Upon a Broken Heart, and everybody loves Jax. I just really want to read it because I think he's the villain in this book. If he is, that's gonna be so fun. It's summer, so of course I had to include an Elsa Silver book. In reality, I just don't want the series to end, that's why I'm not reading it. This is the 4th book in the Just in Spring series, and I only have 2 books left and say bye-bye to the series. But I'm really not ready to say bye-bye to the series because this is one of the best romance series I've ever read. Every time I'm in a slump, I pick up one of Elsie's books and I'm out of it. She does it every single time. I don't know how she does it. Her writing is always to follow. It is a found family, cowboys, everything. They are everything. Her books are everything. If you've not read an Elsie Silver book, just do yourself a favor and just have a little bit of fun and read an Elsie Silver book. I do have an order coming through with some other books as well that I want to read. I have Book Lovers and People Who Went on Vacation by Emily Henry. I had it on my bookshelf for ages, but I just bought the American covers. Because if you know me, I love a good American cover because they're so much nicer and floppier than the UK ones. So those are coming in, and Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez is coming in, and Abby Jimenez, I read Just for the Summer a few months ago, and that was my first Abby Jimenez book, and it made me just rethink everything in life. Like, why did it take me so long to read an Abby Jimenez book? Because that book has my heart. It was one of my top reads of 2024 so far, and I don't know why it took me so long. But I have those 3 coming. I have A Song of Achilles coming in as well, which people say Greek mythology is really fun to read during the summer. So we might have Circe or The Song of Achilles in the July TBR. We'll see how the month goes. And I also have Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna coming in, but no, that's a little bit more of a sad book, so we might just hold off. I have been in such, I don't know, I feel like I'm just rediscovering my taste in book genres. I just keep watching videos of YouTubers and book talkers that talk about literary fiction books, and the only literary fiction I've ever read in my life is Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I love her, but I feel like I'm not mentally ready for a lit fit book because I love my silly little romances and my fantasies. Like, I like to escape, I like to feel happy, I like to feel relaxed, and I feel like literary fiction books make you think. I don't feel like I was ready for that, but I've been watching so many book talkers that are into lit fics, especially I think it's Lauren Louise and Anne. I just discovered Anne yesterday, and I've just gonna been binging her videos. And I took some recommendations. One of the books that Lauren recommended was Brutes by Daisy Tate. She really sold it to me by saying that if you want to feel like a teenager again, where you didn't have to have a summer job and you were just roaming around with your bratty little friends, this is the book for it. And you know what? It made me miss those days that I was out with my bratty little friends. We were doing bratty little shit and just having fun with life and not care about a single thing in the planet because we didn't have to work or pay rent or do any of those things. So I'm just really intrigued by this book. It's very short as well, which I feel like it's gonna be an easy read. And she did mention it's like the perfect summer read, so it is definitely on my summer TBR. Plus the cover I think is stunning. She did also mention in this video Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney and Bonjour Priestess by Françoise Sagan. So I got both of these books because that video, like the way she just described every single book, I was sold. So I got Sally Rooney's Conversation with Friends. I have not read a single Sally Rooney book. It's about a summer affair thing, so I'm really intrigued. And then I also got Bonjour Priestess, and I got it on Vinted for like £1, but it's a very old copy. And then the last kind of like lit fic that I've got in my mental TBR that I want to read is My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. Now, I've seen so many videos about this book, and every single one says just check the trigger warnings. It has to do with abuse, it has to do with a lot of just uncomfortable topics. I am terrified to say the least, but I do want to challenge myself to read something a little bit deeper, something that's actually going to make me think. Just give me a different feeling. Just read the little blip in the back. This might be yes, might be a no, we don't know, we'll see how the month goes. But yeah, so thank you so much guys for watching today's video. Leave a like, subscribe, and yeah, that's it really. I'll see you all in my next one.